Minister for Agriculture, Murray Watt.
Together for the issues that really matter to Australians. Our government is focused on the war on inflation. Peter Dutton is always focused on a culture war. Our government is focused on the prices that supermarkets charge. Peter Dutton is focused on the kind of thongs that supermarkets sell. Peter Dutton is focused on putting the jobs of more than 200,000 workers at risk just so he can score a cheap political point on a radio station. But this is just typical of Peter Dutton. As I say, always negative, always seeking to divide people, always shouting at Australians, rather than actually bringing people together to tackle the real challenges that matter to Australians, like cost of living and the kind of prices that supermarkets charge. You can see from the actions our government announced yesterday, that's our focus when it comes to supermarkets, the prices that people are paying, the cost of living pressures that Australians are fixing. We're not focused on the kind of thongs that supermarkets sell, the kind of T-shirts the supermarkets sell. We'll leave that kind of negativity and division to Peter Dutton while we get on with the things that really matter to Australians. Happy to take any questions.
Yeah, Minister, would you go as far to say Peter Dutton's comments today are out of line?
I think it really shows the kind of priorities of Peter Dutton. Rather than thinking about the things that are priorities for Australians, like taking pressure off cost of living while not adding to inflation, he's out there fighting yet another culture war, talking about what kind of products that supermarkets sell. I don't think that's the kind of priority that most Australians have right now. They're thinking about how they can pay their supermarket bills rather than what kind of thongs they can buy in a supermarket.
Do you agree that retailers shouldn't be weighing in on political issues?
It's a matter for all Australians and all businesses, what they say, what they do when it comes to politics. We don't live in some dictatorship where the government of the day tells you what you can think and what you can do and what you can sell. We'll leave those kind of decisions to businesses who operate in a market just like everywhere else.
Just pivoting topics to the cyclone threat in far north Queensland, how prepared are the regions?
Well, actually, I was in far north Queensland yesterday to inspect the recovery from the recent terrible events that we saw up there. I was able to visit Wujal and other communities like Bloomfield and Ayton to get a really first-hand look on the ground at the task that lies ahead, and it is a big task. Those communities have been impacted very heavily, as have many more across far north Queensland. We know that even without possible more cyclones, there is more rain forecast for those areas yesterday, and in fact there was some rain when I was there yesterday, so there is a risk of some more minor flooding, but we're keeping a very close eye on some of the weather conditions up in far north Queensland at the moment. I can give you a quick update if that's useful. So currently we have an active monsoon trough across Northern Territory and into the Gulf of Carpentaria, and that's expected to cross Cape York tomorrow. When you have an active monsoon trough like that, it does increase the risk of a tropical cyclone, but we're not at that point yet. It will be really important for people from tomorrow in far north Queensland to be paying attention to warnings. We expect it's quite likely that severe weather warnings may be issued tomorrow for far north Queensland, so important for people to watch that. There's also potential for another tropical low to develop across the Gulf of Carpentaria as well. So a couple of potentially quite significant weather events in far north Queensland and northwest Queensland. Of course, if we were to see more heavy rain, that would impact on the recovery effort. But I've already seen for myself that there's a really great team up there of federal, ADF, state and local personnel all pitching in with communities to try to get this recovery underway as quickly as possible.
How far back do you think these weather systems could push that recovery effort?
Oh, look, it's impossible to say when we don't know exactly the severity of these new systems. Hopefully, we'll all be hoping that these weather systems aren't particularly serious, but that is a risk. And that's why the National Emergency Management Agency is already working very closely with state and territory agencies to be prepared for these events. Our motto is always hope for the best and prepare for the worst, and that's what people are doing now.
Are you concerned insurance premiums will rise because of the disaster?
Our government is certainly concerned about the increases that we are seeing to insurance premiums, and this is something that's been happening for a number of years now. It's also been getting increasingly harder for Australians to even get insurance in many parts of the country. The increase that we're seeing in extreme weather is putting real pressure on insurance premiums. You would have heard myself, the Prime Minister, the Treasurer call on insurers to do the right thing when it comes to paying out claims and when it comes to setting premiums as well. But this is one of the reasons that we need to be taking action on climate change. The more extreme weather that we see, the more pressure that's going to put in insurance premiums. So it makes economic sense to be taking action on climate change, quite apart from the environmental reasons to do so.